Hi guys, so in this video we'll be discussing aggregate demand. So let's go with the definition first. By definition, aggregate demand is an economic measurement of the total amount of demand for all finished goods and services produced in an economy. So in this case, we are not talking about bread only, right? We are not talking about, let's say, cars only. We are not talking about the demand of one individual. We are not talking about the demand for one individual. We are not talking about the demand for all individuals for a given good, which is known as the market demand. Um, we are rather talking about the demand for all goods and services in an economy, bread plus tanks plus cars plus phones plus every single thing that is produced and demanded in a given economy. Now let's have a look at the graph. So usually we only have price on the y-axis, but in this case, we have general price level on the y-axis. At the same time, on the x-axis, we usually have the output. In this case, you have the national output along with a few other things. So national output, national income, and national expenditure. Now, I can't really explain why national income, expenditure, and output are equal in this video because that's part of GDP and that will be taught in A2. So for now, you're just supposed to know that these things are equal. So whatever all the people in the economy earn, that's apparently equal to what they spend, and that at the same time is equal to what is produced, which is output. Now let's have a look at the components of aggregate demand. So the components are C, I, G plus X minus M. So C plus I plus G plus X minus M, right? So C over here is consumer spending. So this is the value spent by households to buy goods and services that they need or want. This includes spending on food, housing, education, haircuts, etc. So basically, any single thing that consumers would want to buy, that is included in this thing. The main influence in this case is disposable income, which is the income left after taxation. So whatever a person earns is, one second, let me just change the color. So whatever the person earns, let's say if he's earning $1, right? Um, or whatever we hear $100. So this person is getting this amount, is supposed to get this amount according to his employer, but then obviously there's taxation here. So taxation cuts this. It's kind of a cut on his income, and that's going to reduce his income, let's say, to 80. This is what he ends up with, 80, since there's a tax at 20 or whatever. So this is just an example. And so the main influence on consumer spending is disposable income, which is exactly why taxation is a part of fiscal policy, because we can manipulate consumers spending on goods and services. The next part is investment spending. So in everyday language, investment is the money spent on something to get a future benefit. Let's say if I invest in stocks, so I'm spending my money on stocks right now in order to get a benefit in the future. In economics, it's not so different. It's not so different from the everyday language we use for investment. It's just a bit more precise. So investment spending is spending done by the private sector on buying new capital equipment, new structures, etc. So basically, let's say if there is a given firm in an economy, there is a given firm, sorry, over here, there's a given firm here, represented by F. And if this firm spends some money on buying, let's say, machinery, um, more, not labor, but usually machinery, right? Machinery in different forms, because capital equipment is any equipment which is used in producing other goods and services. So let's say this is an equipment, and this is a machine. It's an equipment which is used in the production of other goods and services, and the firm is spending money on these machines specifically, or even if they're spending money, let's say tools. Yeah, so tools can also be a part of that. I don't know how to draw any tools, so I'm just gonna draw this weird thing. So this is your tool, right? So people within these firms are spending money to buy these tools, which are used to produce other goods and services. Let's say I'm just going to draw a burger, to represent any good or service, and so these guys are spending money to produce these goods and services by buying these capital goods. And so economic spending on new capital goods by firms is known as investment spending, right? The next part is government spending. So government spending or expenditure includes all government consumption, investment, and transfer payments. So in the last part, we didn't really include we only included the private sector in this case and not the public sector, which is the government. And there is an important reason because investment by the government is accounted for in this part. This also includes transfer payments. The transfer payments are basic payments made to individuals when there is a return of economic output. So let's say if the government gives people unemployment benefits, or maybe pensions. So in both of these cases, the government is handing out money, but there is no economic output in return because these guys aren't really producing anything for you. They will just take the money. It's not like they will produce some goods and services, and so this is known as transfer payments. Government spending on goods and services for current users to directly satisfy the individual or collective needs of the community is the government's expenditure. So let's say the government spends on building roads. If the government spends on anything at all, that's going to be part of this, right? And then the last part is exports minus imports. So exports are the goods and services produced in one country and then purchased by residents of another country. So let's say if you have Pakistan, right? So Pakistan here, and so Pakistan is producing certain goods and services, and then Pakistan is sending these goods and services to, let's say, the UK. And if people in the UK are buying these goods and services, that's going to be known as an export on part of Pakistan because Pakistan is selling its goods abroad. And then for the UK, since the UK is consuming these goods and services and it's paying money to Pakistan, it's known as an import. So in aggregate demand, since we're looking at the goods and services produced in a given economy, we use the formula exports minus imports, so we can cancel out the imports from that part as well, right? And one important thing to notice is that changes in exchange rate affects exports and imports. So exchange rate, we look at that later on, but it's basic derivative exchange. So you must have seen something like this, that $1 is equal to, right now I think it's 153 rupees, so 153 rupees. So this is an exchange rate, and so if there are changes in the exchange rate, it's going to affect this value here. So that's pretty much it from this video.